How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Speed Code. Today is a special day because I finally finished coding my meme tournament planner. I'm going to reveal the code with you today. So the first thing we needed to do was connect the database from code to enable people to have the application on various different places on their laptops or computers and still be able to connect to the database. So doing it from code makes it connect every time when the program runs. So here you can see we created a unit just for this with no interface, and I call it connectdb_u. And you can see the code I use is very similar to the same things and settings that you change when doing it through Delphi's interface. So now that I've connected the database, we can actually use the database. So for instance, here I've got my table memes, and I don't even need to say the database name and then .table memes. I can just go straight to table memes and then get the record count. Now let's look what I've done. Well, we'll start off with the submission page. So all this was basically just the home page before people signed in. So if you wanted to submit a meme, you just enter your name, surname, and Instagram handle, so that when we click on submit, it then gets the number of records in the database and then adds a record, produces that, unique meme ID and all of those things, and basically does some data validation here. So for instance, here we're going and checking that there are no numbers in our S_name variable, and if there are, then we ask it to enter a valid name, we set the label edit to focus, and then we exit the procedure so it doesn't continue. But at first when I had this, I had it as 0 to 10, and I kept getting this error. I couldn't find it. I did the call a friend, and not even he could help me. Turns out I had this as a 10 and not as a 9. So yeah, plenty of looking for bugs and never being able to find them, but then eventually getting it right after hours and hours of looking. But let's not ponder on that thought. So if we carry on, you can see did the same thing, and then we just added this to our database, to both tables that we had, and we increased the number of participants that we have. This is important because we don't want there to be more than 20 participants. So if there are 20 participants, we're going to make the submit button false. Okay. However, before that, we do a prompt for file name. Now this basically opens up a file explorer window to allow us to select the meme that we want to upload. So if we run the program, you'll be able to see what I mean. So that's the gist of the submit page. Then we can click on sign in. And all I did here was I just made it that it asks for your admin password, which is admin $. If you get that right, it takes you to the leaderboard page. The leaderboard page is pretty cool. We can see all of our memes on the leaderboard here and their meme IDs. And then if we hover over, we can also see the number of votes they've actually got. So this leaderboard page is where we run the program, so we can start the tournament. And this makes it active, like so. And then it actually starts the tournament, which you can see here. Basically, it just makes sure that in our array, everyone is true, so everyone is still in the tournament and doesn't kick anyone out of the tournament. And then the other things we have is we have basically then just switching to the voting form and starts immediately with the voting. Now let's see what else have we got here. Well, we've got a timer expected time. So this is for our expected remaining time. So when we click on here, you can see it then will go and read the caption, and we'll basically get the minutes from that and the seconds, and then decrease it by 1 second and then update it on the caption of our expected remaining time here. Now for our onActivate event, that's where we actually get the expected amount of time. So if we go here, let's see where we for the estimated time remaining, we read from a text file that I've created that stores the length of each round that takes place. So every time a voting round takes place, a timer records the length of that round, and then we store it in our text file, and then we read every single line from the text file and calculate the average. Once that happens, we convert the average into minutes and seconds, and then we put that into a nice little string, and we change the caption of the expected remaining time to that. Okay, what else have we got? We've got signing out. That just takes you back to where you belong on the submit page. We've got help and all of those navigations. Then also on the activate event, you'll see I've made a good couple of my own procedures. So for instance here, I've got that we update the leaderboard every time the form gets activated. So that's after a round of voting. Then we actually need to let's say meme 1 beats meme 2, then meme 1 needs to progress onto the next round. So that was done over here. And then we basically had a spiral of procedures inside procedures. So we check how many rounds are left, then we create the brackets, and then after that we need to update the brackets, but I won't bore you with the details here. So that is, we've done uploading memes, we've done connecting the database, we've done the leaderboard updates. So let's have a look at the voting. Now the voting was fairly easy, but fairly difficult at the same time, which will connect with our resizing a little later. So we just made it that, if there were more than 2 memes to vote for, then it showed 3 pictures, right? So we've got our strings here for the pictures, and then if we go to the on activate event, because that's where everything's happening on activation, then we need to basically work out how many rounds there are so that we can find out how many wins each person has. And then once we've got that, then we know who should be progressing on to the next round and who we should be voting for. So I basically did all of this code to work that out. And then I would assign the meme ID to a certain integer value here. Then I get those meme IDs, I load the pictures from our picture folder in our debug folder. And then, yeah, that's about it. We set resizable to true. And so then, once it's on resizable as true, it's going to actually resize our window. So when we resize the window, we then need to try and find out, okay, well, the big problem is that the images actually, if we keep them in the same dimensions, for instance, if we had all 3 memes like so, then we would get the problem in that different images with different dimensions would end up being compressed and look squashed and squished. So instead, we need to create a procedure here called resize image. And basically what this does is it loads the picture, it asks it, what are your dimensions? And then it finds a factor of those dimensions that will actually fit on our form. So if its dimensions are 700 by 300, for instance, but our window is only this size, it'll then make the image component 350 by 150. So the resolution still remains the same and it doesn't get squashed. So that I did here. And then I needed to create certain placements as well so that they wouldn't be on top of each other. So we needed to set the left positions to a certain space of 20, and then we would take the second meme and then place that 40 right of wherever the first meme finishes, and so forth. Alright, that's a bit of a mouthful. But that was the basics of the resizing the memes. Then after that, we actually have to be able to resize our windows. But you know what, I'm first going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so if we sign in, Oh, don't look at my password. I'll get it right eventually. There we go. Okay. And we start our tournament. Then we have some memes here. Right? Now, if we change the size of the form, you see it changes the size of the memes themselves. It's a little bit wonky, but now you'll see I can't move this window just to the right and not make it higher as well. So you see it automatically changes the size. So what's next? Yes, resizing. Okay. So now the next problem was I wanted to make every form resizable. But now the issue with that is if we look over here, for instance, if I were to resize this, these components are all going to stay exactly where they are. But I want them anchored to a certain point. For instance, I want this close button to be anchored X amount away from the top right corner. So it needs to be that gap and that gap from the top right corner over here. Same with all of these. So I created some procedures because I love procedures. Let me just scroll up so I can find them. Okay, so we have scale common controls. Okay. So now scaling common controls is pretty much just scaling the controls that are common across all the forms. For instance, our back arrow, help, all of those. And so there I needed to then read from a text file how to scale it. So basically what I did here is I made a text file that said these are the sizes that you must be. So for our panels, okay, here's our common controls. We can see that this is now mainly for the left, all the top values. So the x coordinate, or these are certain coordinates that they must be linked to. So for instance, we know our left arrow, that's okay. It will always be the same left value, so we don't need to change that. But its y value, or its top value, should be 252, for instance. And we do that for all of those. So those are for our common controls. And you can see here then we basically go and make the left value, whatever that is, or it is then the top value, for instance. Okay. So, for instance, here it will always be the left value because these ones we want to stay in the same position on top. So when we make it wider and higher, it must just stay on top like it was. Now, the other place that I used this was for my panels. So the thing is, these panels, their parent is actually this panel here. This one. So they need to be at a certain position to that panel. And they need to be a certain size of that panel as well. So I'm going to make the tops will always be the same value, but they also need to be a different size to that panel. So if we go back to our text file, I did the x and y scale coordinates for each one, so you can see they're separated by a dot. And that's for each and every one of the panels that I will have. Okay, and then when it is the end of a tournament, I will do the following. Let's just go to the code quickly. Okay, so if it's the end of the tournament, then I find whoever's got the most wins will be the winner, and I make that their comp winner ID. I get their Instagram handle, and then I open up using shell execute, in which in your uses you need to have shell API, I then go and open up their Instagram account. So you can see here, I'll make it https instagram.com/ and then whatever their Instagram handle is, and then I will open that up. And that is my code and how I coded. It was quite a process, so I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from it. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and keep coding.